Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wished your car could be the automotive equivalent of a dapper gentleman in a bowler hat? Compact, polite, stylish, and British to the bone. Then let me introduce you to the Austin Seven Saloon by Swallow, a tiny four-wheel time capsule that looks like it should come with its own Monley and a tin of biscuits. It's the car you'd expect to see pulling up to a cricket match in 1929. Its owner stepping out with a stiff upper lip and a newspaper folded just so. Now, before we leap into this prime and proper marvel, let's take a moment to thank the dashing supporters of our channel, the people who clicked that little join button. One of you even sent us a care package of Yorkshire tea, which may or may not now be powering my friend. Timmy, thank you all truly. Right off we go to Foggy. Blackpool Knights were two visionaries. William Lyons and William Walmsley were brewing something special at their Swallow Sidecar and Coachbuilding Company. Initially known for motorcycle sidecars, the duo shifted gears and decided to tour-body the humble Austin Seven, a car so tiny it made a shoebox look like a bungalow. The result, the first swallow-bodied tourer built to top the standard Austin Seven chassis, but dressed like it was headed to a fancy dinner. By 1928, the saloon version arrived. Fully enclosed, four-seat, and covered in shiny two-tone paint. Picture black and cream coachwork, a bonnet with a pen nib chrome trim, and a V-shaped windscreen with a jaunty little peak like Amistache twirl rendered in metal. Swallow wasn't just trying to impress. They were practically catcalling the entire middle class, and it worked. The car turned heads even when it had tow park outside the 1928 London Motor Show because there wasn't enough space inside. In fact, legend says a dealer spotted one on the sidewalk and immediately ordered hundreds. Proof that in life and in marketing, sometimes you just need to loiter in the right place. Sales surged, and so did the company. Lyons scored a contract with Henleys of London for 500 cars and relocated operations to Coventry. From 1928 to 1932, they built somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 Swallow-bodied Austin Sevens. Nobody's quite sure. Most of them were saloons. And if you've ever tried to count anything while sipping gin, you'll understand. Of those, just a handful survive today. Jaguar's Heritage Department proudly preserves examples like DS68666, the oldest known Blackpool-built Swallow Saloon. It even gets built as the first Jaguar, which is a bit like calling your primary school painting the beginning of your art career, but with more wheels and chrome. Mechanically, the Swallow Saloon kept its Austin 7 underpinnings. That meant a 747 CIC Sedum inline. Four-side valve engine putting out roughly 10.5 horsepower at 20th and 400 revolutions per minute. Yes, 10-1-2 horses. That's about the power of a very motivated goat. But what it lacked in grunt, it made up for in cleverness. The crank ran in two mains, ball at the front and a roller at the rear, cooled by athermosiphan with a fan and fed by pressure to the mains with splashelsware, which incidentally sounds like how I make breakfast. The three-speed manual gearbox was non-synchro mesh, meaning you had to master the art of double clutching or risk grinding every shift like a barista with a grudge. Power went to the live rear axle via a torque tube. And from 1932 onwards, you could even get a four-speed box. It's Satan Austin's A-frame chassis with a 6.3 in wheelbase, later stretched as 9 in late 1931, using a transverse half-elliptic front spring and quarter elliptics at the rear. Brakes were mechanical all around, evolving from a goofy system where the foot pedal only stopped the rear wheels, as if the front end didn't matter, to a more sensible four-wheel setup by 1930. Wheels were wire spoke wrapped in balloon tires, typically 350 by 19 in, which gave it that lofty Victorian pram stance. Overall length was about 10 ft, approximately 3.1 millimeters for a Swallow Saloon, and the unladen weight was nearer 800 weight, around 400 kilos. The top speed was a wild 50 mph, 80 km per hour, which was plenty fast for a country where most people were still getting around on foot, bike, or milled argument. Fuel consumption about 45 to 50 ml per imperial gallon, which, considering current gas prices, sounds more like a retirement plan than a spec sheet. Amenities included electric starter, dynamo lighting, a speedometer, electric horn, windscreen wiper, and even a toolkit, though using it successfully required more optimism than skill. The interiors came with folding front seats, lacquered wood trim, and either cloth or leatherette upholstery. If it all sounds a bit posh, that's because it was, and that's the brilliance of it. Swallow managed to make a budget car feel like £1,000,000. Buyers got luxury looks, a stylish Swallow badge with a flying bird radiator mascot, and a whiff of aristocracy for under $190 sterling. About 62 weeks of wages back then. People lined up to buy a car that looked like it belonged to someone who didn't work weekends. By the time production wrapped up in 1932, the Swallow Saloon had become a minor icon of British motoring. A sign that elegance didn't have to be expensive and that you didn't need 12 cylinders and a butler to arrive in style. This wasn't just car design, it was automotive charm. And let's be honest, charm is what gets you through a muddy driveway and still lets you wave to the neighbors with pride. Even if one of those neighbors like ours insists on reporting you to the parish council because your curtains clash with your hedges. Market-wise, the Swallow Saloon found its niche in the middle-class dreamscape. While the Ford model to mobilize the masses, the Swallow whispered, "I may not be rich, but I've taste." It wasn't a racer. It wasn't a truck. And it certainly wasn't built for farm work, unless your idea of farming involves picking daffodils in Tweed. It sold in good numbers during a time when Britain was feeling the economic squeeze, which says a lot about how far good design and clever marketing can take you. Some buyers even called it Britain's Model T with manners, which might be the most British insult ever aimed at Detroit. And here's the kicker. You can still find a few Swallow saloons in the market today, though you'll pay for the privilege. Back in the day, you'd fork out about 170 to 187 sterling, roughly 13,000 to 14,000 sterling today, or around $17,000 to $18,000. Modern auction prices vary wildly based on condition, but notable sales include one hitting 35,840 at Bonhams in 2018 and another fetching 16,500 at RM Southerners in 2017. Today, the Austin 7. Swallow Saloon is remembered not just as a quirky footnote, but as the acorn that grew into the mighty Jaguar oak. The Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust even calls it the first Motor C car produced by the company. And I'll allow it because if you squint, you can see the future XKs and Ipes hiding in its little chrome grin. So here's to the plucky Swallow. It didn't roar, it didn't race, it didn't revolutionize, but it dressed the part, showed up early, and made a name for itself by turning practicality into elegance. That's something worth raising a teacup to. And if you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button because nothing says support like letting me talk about obscure British cars to a slightly larger audience. May your oil be clean, your gear shift smooth, and your roadside tea stops always involve cake.